welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. What's up, Emerge Group? Welcome back. Tonight we have a very special guest. Coach Manetta, what's going on? I see you out there. Welcome back. We have a very special show tonight. I see Ayo is here. All right, guys, we're just going to give it a few minutes while people go on. Chris, stay humble. Future guest, of course, Chris. See you out there, influencer. Shout out to the athletic director, the number one athletic director in the Bronx, Coach Manetta. Chris, stay humble, as always. It's good to see you. Fire, as always. Chris, you're going to come on soon. I know you are. Okay, so I'm looking forward to seeing you. But like I said, we're going to start off in a little bit. Tonight we have a very, very special guest. Can't wait to get started. All right, I see Antoinette. Shout out to my younger sister out there. Nancy, Lena, we see you. Thank you for coming out. Today was such a beautiful day, was it not? It was such a beautiful day. But we have to mask up still, right? Always stay masked up, even though the weather is fantastic. Hey, Nancy. All right. Nancy, we have a special guest tonight, Mr. Aruleba, Ayo. So if you want to get on, you're going to have to DM me, and then you'll be able to get on for sure. Okay? So we're going to get started. So, one of the things that, first of all, welcome. My name is Martin Smallhorne, and welcome to Yes, Your Educational Story. I've been an educator for 25 years now, and 5 of those years have been as a teacher, 20 years as an administrator. And I guess, what I'm really... Gail, how are you, Gail? Good to see you. One of the things that I'm trying to get at is, what is it that makes students decide that they're going to go after it? They're going to work hard, and they're going to strive for excellence. And as our guest, one of the songs he wanted to use was Legacy by JC, and decide that they want to go hard and leave a legacy behind. Okay? And I guess one of the premise of this show is that your zip code should not determine your destiny. Your zip code should not determine your destiny, and your present situation should not determine your destination. So we're trying to get at the gist of that, and that's why I started Yes, Your Educational Story, because everyone has a story to tell. But what's your educational story? And it's just important that we try to find out, or we try to present our students that have overcome those situations and overcome hard work and have, strive to be excellent and arrived at certain areas in their life. But everyone sees the shiny, like, in this young man's situation, and I'll let him tell his story, where he has ended up now. You see that end, or you see where he's at now, and you think, oh, he just arrived there. No, there is hard work behind all of our destinations. And I'm just going to tell a quick story about, exposure. Exposure is so important for students that are coming out of the hood. I'm from the hood. My zip code, shout out to my zip code, 11212, Brownsville, Brooklyn, never run, never will, right? But exposure is so important, which is why, when people say, oh, you should go to college, and they show you these shiny catalogs and these booklets, and they expect you, the kids to grasp it from the inner city. No, it doesn't work that way. It changes everything when you can fully have that full experience of a college tour. So it's always been my experience that when I used to take my kids away on college tours, we would arrive on these campuses, and no one wanted to go to college at that time. It's too expensive. I don't want to go. But then we arrive at these different campuses, and the exposure, you could touch it, feel it. Everybody wants to attend college, right? So it's just a beautiful thing. And I think it's important that when we talk about college to our inner city students, I think it's important that we offer them the full exposure. But enough of that. Let's welcome our very special guest, Mr. Ayo Aruleba. Ayo, if you're out there, please get on right now so we can begin our outstanding interview. What's up, Frula? See you, Bambi. What's going on? I see you out there. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the show soon. All right, Ayo, are you out there, Ayo? Okay, there he is. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, a very special guest, Mr. Okay, give it a few minutes. Yes, yes, I see you simply getting better. We have a little technical difficulty here. Ayo, did you get that? There you go. Ayo, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me?
All right, there you go. There you go. How
Great,
are you,
great,
sir?
great. I'm good. I'm
How
good.
are
Happy to
you?
be here.
It is
I'm
so good to
great.
see you. So good to see you. Where are you right now? Where are you checking in from?
Cambridge, Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Specifically?
Cambridge, Massachusetts, right outside of Harvard's campus.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay.
Yeah,
All right, Ayo,
yeah.
listen, thank you so much for joining us. I know you have a very busy schedule. We're not going to keep you long, but your story is so amazing and so impactful. I hope it resonates with people out there. James Rodriguez, shout out to James Rodriguez.
Shout out to Mr. Rodriguez, for real. Shout out to him.
Shout out to James Rodriguez in the house. Shout out to Mr. Bland is on here. Shout out
Okay,
to
Mr.
Mr.
Bland. Okay.
You remember these guys?
Of course. We got Gail, Miss Irick out there too. We
Okay.
can't forget about her.
All right.
Can't forget about her, Duffer.
Okay. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
Listen. Shout out to all the people that make a difference in our young people's lives. You know, it really, really impacts them. So, Ayo, first of all, state your zip code, please, sir.
10467.
10467. Shout out to the Bronx. And what part of the Bronx is that?
Uptown.
Uptown.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
shout out to Uptown VX. All right, so Ayo, thank you so much for joining us. Please share with us your educational story.
Of course. I want to thank you, Mr. Smallhorne, for bringing me out today. I'm happy to be here. I saw you had the series where you're having people sharing their educational stories. So happy to share mine if it can be a little bit of inspiration to somebody's. Thank everybody for being on live. My name is Aruleba. I'm from the Bronx. I went to Lehman High School in the Bronx on East Tremont. And you know, I'm happy to share my story. Basically, my parents came here from Nigeria in 1996, a couple months before I was born.
Okay.
Both of them, I mean, my dad was born when Nigeria was still a colony.
Okay.
And by the time he graduated from high school, there weren't many colleges in Nigeria, so he went to Italy to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up meeting my mom, who's also Nigerian.
Okay.
And she moved from Nigeria to Italy to meet him. And then she got pregnant with me. And but she's very religious. I love my mom so much. I mean, she's a Bible thumper if you've ever seen one. And she got pregnant with me, and she said that, you know, God told her that this kid, he needed to be born in America. Mm-hmm. You know, there was something about America that was very special to her, and the opportunities that were going to be here for her kids were something she couldn't pass up. So my mom is if you know her, she's a very forceful lady. I know some of the educators, Rodriguez, and they met my mom. They know my mom.
So safe to say she's a helicopter mom, right?
She's a helicopter. Okay. And one day my dad was going to work, and when they're in Italy, and she just grabbed him up and she said, "Look, you're not going to work today. Mm-hmm. You're going to go to the embassy, and you're going to figure out how we're going to go to America."
Okay. And
that day, my dad, he went to the embassy because he had to listen to my mom. Uh-huh. She's a very forceful lady. Yeah. And a couple weeks later, they were on a flight to the United States.
Okay.
So, you know, they came to New York. I had an uncle who lived in Long Island, so that's where I was actually born, in Long Island. A couple months after I was born, that's when we moved to the Bronx, and that started my journey. So I pretty much lived half of my life in New York, in the South Bronx, right outside Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
A 10465 zip code, and then we moved uptown, kind of where I came of age.
All right.
Per se. Challenges really much were like, you know, in middle school, like you know the area.
Yes,
like,
I know the area very well.
I went to Michelangelo Middle School, and it wasn't an easy life. Like there were a lot of different things pushing me and my friends, pulling us to different environments, pulling people in different directions.
Like what? Like what, Ayo? Because, you know, people see you in school, you know, educators, we see you arrive at the destination school, but sometimes it doesn't resonate. Like there's a real journey in between when you leave your doorstep to get to the school building. You know, so what kind of things are you talking about?
100%. I think like at middle school, I think like one of the the funniest things like when I was in middle school, that's when getting like got really big. Everybody
Yeah.
was doing dance
Mhm.
groups. People were dancing. I was like a hype man. If you know me today, like I always gonna hype you up if you're dancing. If I'm dancing, I'm a big hype man.
Okay.
And so different neighborhoods had different hype groups,
Okay.
and some of the hype groups turned into gangs.
Mm.
Some of the hype groups turned into gangs, and people started being motivated by money, motivated by trying to get to the bag in any way possible. And get into the bag is everybody wants to get money, everybody wants to level up, everyone wants to secure their own bag, but
That's right.
the opportunities to secure it legally in our environment weren't as readily available as they should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I seen that's when in middle school to high school is when I started to see like paths diverge between some of my friends, some of my family, people that I consider my family. I started to see us kind of go in different paths. I've always had a certain level of ambition and
Yeah.
like what I wanted to do,
Mhm.
but I hadn't seen people who were necessarily doing it
Mhm.
up until like high school, later on in high school when I got into some of the AP classes and was surrounded by people who were the future valedictorians
Mhm.
and challenging me in different ways.
Yeah.
But before that, it was kind of like we all had the same goals of getting money, getting our family out of the Bronx,
Yeah.
and doing better for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that really changed my path, you talked about in some of our calls, we talked about like the aha moments.
Yes.
And shout out again, like I'm in law school now
Mhm.
at Harvard Law School, and before this, I went to Georgetown. And I wouldn't say that any of this could be possible without some of the educators on this call, like uh, Gail Irick on the call, Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, for example,
Mhm.
when I got to high school, I don't know what he saw in me. Like he just picked me out. I don't know. I really don't remember how I even met him.
Yeah.
Uh, but he saw something special in me and nominated me to join the Mayor's Youth Leadership Council of New York City,
Okay.
that's where I got the opportunity to, as this kid in the
Mhm.
Bronx, we don't have much, people on public housing,
Yeah.
welfare, and to be able to change to a suit after school, and people would see me and they would be like, "Oh, damn, he's going to do something special." I would
Yeah.
change to my suit
Mhm.
and hop on a 6 train, go down to City Hall, the last stop on the 6 train,
Eh,
and sit down with Mayor Bloomberg,
Yeah.
sit down with Chancellor Walcott.
Wow.
And for Mr. Rodriguez to put me in a position to be surrounded by
Mhm.
young people from across the city and show me how much young people across the Bronx, no matter where you're from, no matter who your family is, no matter what you have or don't have,
Yes.
you can still have a voice. It really changed the path of my life.
Okay.
So I really value the importance of mentorship and strong educators in the
Mhm.
schools. Um,
Shout out to again to those educators. I know
Definitely.
the ones that are on this call are one of so many, but shout out to all of those educators who see something in all of our students and and present it, because and that's what I mentioned about exposure, right?
Hmm.
Exposure is everything to us when we're in the inner city, because we don't know, and
Hmm.
that must have been so interesting for you to go throughout the day with your regular clothes on, and
Hmm.
then you probably dipped into the bathroom, changed into a suit, here comes
My church suit, my freshest church suit.
right? Your church suit, Superman, and you're off on the
Hmm.
train, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so that's
Hmm.
beautiful, man. So
Yeah.
what happened? Where do you go from there?
Yeah. From there, that's when I really got my passion in like social justice, my passion for like government, and my passion for using like systems to make a change.
Okay,
I joined the law team. That's where I met Miss Peters,
okay. Shout
and
out to Gail Peters.
yeah, that's where I
Gail.
met her, and
Okay.
she put me on a path to using the law
Yeah.
to make a difference. Right, I saw that a lot of people I looked up to on the news, whether that was Obama, whether that's Michelle Obama, or a lot of these people just like went to law school. So
Yeah.
I thought, and I love to argue. My siblings on the call right now, my mom, my brother, they hate
Shout
it,
out to your
but
mom.
anybody who knows me knows that I will argue
Mm,
to the death about anything. So I use those skills of mock trial,
mhm.
and she was a big mentor for me in learning about how whether that could be a path for me. I didn't know any lawyers in my family, but
Okay.
she was one lawyer that I knew, and so I could be able to use her as a model. I ended up after Lehman High School going to Georgetown in DC, and honestly, like you were gonna say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say before we get to that, have you
Mhm.
had? Did you have your aha moment already, or that hasn't happened yet?
I would say that one of the aha moment was like I still remember this day.
Mhm.
It was AP World History. So first year I took no advanced placement class. I was in all regular classes, and
Mhm.
I through my grades in global history, I was placed into AP World History. And again, I told you about where I came from, and
Yeah.
all my friends from my neighborhood, like we would go to class late.
Mhm.
We in Lehman High School, Lehman was a big school. We had people, we had like people who were straight edge. We had people who were a little more rough on the edges. We had all different types of people. And I was, especially freshman year, closer to people who were from my neighborhood, who were people who were not in AP
Yeah,
classes
okay.
per se. Let me just to keep it blunt.
Yeah.
And when I got to AP class, I came 5 minutes late. Everybody was sitting down.
Yeah.
I was sagging my Robin jeans. I had a Hollister shirt. I remember I had like a red fitted. I came in and I thought I was like on time to late, like,
Yeah.
5 minutes late in Lehman was nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And literally people were looking at me like I killed somebody.
Yeah. Culture shock.
Like I literally killed somebody. And I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow, like this isn't how it is here.
Yeah.
And I sat down next to people who were going to be the future valedictorians of our school.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down next to Bernard Alexander, some of my great friends there. Janae was there.
Okay.
Marquel was there. And that's when I was like, look, Io, like I always had high ambitions, I think, since a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's weird. My first job I wanted to be was like Supreme Court justice. I didn't know what the hell justice was, but
yeah.
That's what I wanted to be. So I had very high ambitions, but I didn't have a path to get there.
Okay.
I didn't have a roadmap to say, this is what you should do. This is who've done this before.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what an information interview was.
And that's important.
But
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I knew that when I got to AP World and I've seen people actually studying and I've seen people like really taking the classes seriously, this was the level I was going to have to operate on moving forward and above. So that was my big aha moment when you asked that.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And,
Mm-hmm.
and you said something so important. It's like when we come from these zip codes, we know that we want to be successful. All of us, we always want to chase the bag. We want the bag. We want to be successful, but the exposure is not there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not until, and I had told my culture shock story about moving to a different borough, but your culture shock scenario was when you went into an AP class and you realized like, oh, so this is what it's like. And, your environment, whether it's in a classroom, or in a different borough or city or whatever, it changed everything for you.
100%. And it's crazy because we talk about racial injustice and we're now like in the post-George Floyd world.
Yeah.
One of the biggest shocks for me, I didn't know why people went to Lehman. But they were in AP World History. I didn't know why people went to Lehman until I got to AP World History.
Wow.
And all the AP, it was crazy. It was crazy to see that.
Yeah.
And so let me just set up my laptop for a quick 1 second. And so when I got there, that's what really was my biggest culture shock. And like what
Okay.
I wanted to go to school that was definitely not in New York City. Definitely in a big city though, just being from New York, like I couldn't go to a small town. I wanted to be somewhere where I can hop on a train, go here, go there, like be exposed to lots of different cultures. Mm-hmm. And so, but honestly, thinking about Georgetown, I didn't know much about the school other than the fact that AI went there and that Bill Clinton went there and that it was in DC. That was it. I visited, they had an admitted students weekend for like students of color. And I had a great time when I went there, met, one of my best friends to this day, Michael Martin. And I ended up going to having a great time at Georgetown. But again, it was a culture shock just being around so many people who had different experiences, a lot wealthier than I came from. People who lived in Manhattan and are from the same city that I know. But when I tell them I'm from the Bronx, they think I'm dodging bullets left and right. People who, vacation in New York every year but never step foot in the Bronx don't know anything about, the New York that I know.
Yeah.
That was my shock. And with my education story, there are a lot of ups and downs. I remember that during my sophomore year at Georgetown, one of the things that really shocked me was it was like the first couple weeks, and my mom called me and she's like, "Hey, Aya, like we were evicted from our home, so we're gonna, our family's gonna be living in a shelter. But one of the things my parents always instilled in me since young was education and how important it is. And so they didn't really tell me much about what was going on. They kept me out of the loop, but all of my siblings, my family at the time was homeless, and I'm sitting here at Georgetown in DC, so far away, so far removed, and I really can't do anything other than focus on school. And I didn't really tell many people. I didn't tell my friends at the time. I didn't tell anybody what I was going through other than focusing on school. It was definitely a challenging period for me. And I've seen that throughout my education, there's like ups and there's downs. And just because you make wherever there's going to a lot of people in your network, a lot of people you care about, a lot of people in your family are going to still be looking to you, and they're going to still have challenges that you're going to be faced with on a day-to-day basis. And it's like you have to one day go to school and act like everything is normal, and debate different policy issues as if they're not,
Hmm.
and then also look on the side. This is actually something that I have dealt with before. I have actually used an EBT card before. Like, unlike many people who want to talk about welfare state or other things like that. You can go ahead.
Okay, I do want to ask you. I do
Hmm.
want to ask you something because I mean, you said it so fast. Um, you're in your second year, your sophomore year at Georgetown University, right? Well, and
Hmm.
you're on full scholar. You were on full scholarship, right?
Yeah,
Right. And you said that your family was being evicted, right? Or they had been evicted.
they had been
I
evicted.
didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Say that again.
They had been evicted.
They
Yeah.
had been evicted. So
Hmm.
they have been evicted, and here you are in one of the most prestigious universities in the United States, and perception is everything, because I'm sure, just like it's a culture shock for you, it's a culture shock for many people seeing you there, and
Hmm.
the prejudgment, of course, like, how did you get here? What are you doing here? But in the midst of all of this, and you trying to survive, your family's being evicted. How did you find the wherewithal to just focus? And how did you
Hmm.
do that? How did you do that school year?
Yeah. It was definitely difficult, but one of the things you'll find, and I really motivate and try to get people to, like, anywhere you go, there's going to be some, like, you think you're the only person from the hood, there are other people from the hood at Georgetown. And those are my best friends at Georgetown. So nothing I was going to say was going to surprise them. And so when I surrounded myself with people who had similar experiences, whether they were low income, first generation, not from environments of people who had family members who went to Georgetown, they weren't legacy students. That was how I would survive, because I knew that the people around me, they had been through some stuff too.
Hmm.
And that actually gave me the fire. I think that year was the year I did the best at Georgetown.
Wow.
I think I got one B the whole school year.
Wow.
Um, just because of how much I said, look, this is what my family's going through. I'm gonna have to work hard, harder than I've ever
Hmm.
worked before, to make sure that this never happens again.
Hmm.
And I had there were support systems. Shout out to Georgetown Scholars Program, that I look to for support,
Okay.
for people who are low income, first generation. And I'm going to say Georgetown was very great on that. But I look to my friends. I look to the type of energy to, like, really push through. And ultimately I was able to find it, but it was through the
Okay.
strength of God, honestly, that pushed me through. And so,
Oh, thank God. Thank God, man.
I continued that year. I continued that year. You had a question?
No, no, no. I was going to mention the Georgetown project, but we can get back to that.
Oh, we can talk about that. Yeah, yeah, we
Ah,
can definitely talk about that. Uh,
yeah.
are you talking about the efforts with the slavery?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I can speak on that, but I wanted to touch quickly on another piece that happened to me at Georgetown,
Yes. Go ahead. Go
and, like,
ahead. Go ahead,
the
brother.
two lives that I was living on a day-to-day basis. I
Okay.
would open my phone to read the New York Times app on every day or every other day, just to keep informed. And I remember, I think it was during my junior year, I opened New York Times, and
Mhm.
biggest gang busting of New York, the Bronx 120. We got the biggest. I see block to my block to get these people who were quote unquote gang members, and round up
Yeah.
120 people. I looked through the pictures, people that I know, people who've been to my house, people my family know, people who I know their family, my parents know them. I saw about these people, and it's crazy that looking back, these people were charged with crime, really innocent, but they're looking back now trying to piece their lives together. And so I
Mhm.
knew that the life that I was living, I knew that the story that I had and the environment and context that I came from was so dramatically different from so many of the people who I was in school with at the time, where I, like, look, if you go back home to where my family lives, like, the thousands of gang members are, I mean, thousands of police officers that came to round up people who were gang members, but actually, like, they're just messing up a lot of people's lives. And so it's crazy to look back now
Yeah.
and see how, so many systems and institutions of law, so many institutions and systems of law are used to criminalize poverty, to discriminate against people who don't have many resources to fight for self. And so that's what kind of motivated me to use my voice, right? Use my voice. You talked about the Georgetown story. About for everybody on the line is obviously 1789, and slavery wasn't abolished in America until 1865. So to me, it was kind of intuitive, especially the location given it's, below the
Yeah.
Mason-Dixie line. Georgetown owned over 272 slaves, and
Georgetown University.
they sold hundreds of them to basically keep it out of debt. That was their business model, and it was so ingrained into the university at the time. Like a student today would bring their laptop, like a student today would bring their printer or wherever else they need to get to school. And that time, like, students brought slaves. And so I was actually on a working group for slavery, memory, and reconciliation at Georgetown, where we helped to look into the history, investigate how we could reconcile the history. And so in addition to that kind of institutional role, I also, like me and some Black students, thought that the working group was working too slow. So we did a sit-in.
Mm-hmm.
We did a sit-in
at Georgetown University.
We did a sit-in at the president's office. And
Okay.
just long story short, I don't want to go too much into that, but basically, Georgetown's trying to establish that Georgetown is the only American university to establish legacy status, meaning if you were a descendant of a slave who was employed by Georgetown or enslaved by Georgetown, let me correct that, you can get into Georgetown easier. Just like today, if your parents went to Georgetown or your parents went to Harvard, you can get in easier. Today, they established legacy status for descendants of slaves. And actually, I saw in the news last week, the Jesuits at Georgetown.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now and to $1 billion fund for reparations, specifically focused on education, building on the work that I did, building on the work that plenty of Black students across Georgetown when I was there and after continue to build on. So I'm thankful about that. And I think it just shows of how much young people, like from that time, Mr. Rodriguez, right, exposed me to the Major League Council up until today. It shows how much important it is for young people to stand up and raise their voice in the movement and fight injustice wherever it is. And that kind of what exposed me, got me excited about the law and got me to where I'm at today.
And I'm glad. I'm happy that you have done that, and that's basically legacy that you've paid forward for so many. I do want to talk about that day when you looked at the New York Times and you saw on your block that over 100 and something kids that many of who you knew or have been to your house. How did that affect you that they were being arrested? I remember that day as well. I remember reading that and seeing that, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. How do you swoop into a neighborhood, inner city neighborhood, and arrest all of these young Black men? And what's going to happen? And who's going to defend them? And like, what is the repercussion of that? And how many of those lives have been ruined to the point where they cannot vote and go to college and so on and so forth, or can't get financial aid? Like, what are you doing? Are you doing anything now with regards to that, or how did that affect you?
Yeah, how did it affect me? So I don't even have words to describe how it affected me. I thought growing up, being a government major at Georgetown, you read about criminal justice, you see it as this other system. I have been fortunate not to have been directly involved in the criminal justice system myself. But when I read that PDF document, and I read the United States versus, and then there was a verse real name, and then it had their and I thought that how many people are going to be reading this story right now and don't know these people's story, don't know that this person's actually a human being, don't know that this person is actually somebody who deserves respect, don't know. And no matter what these people did, no matter what evidence the government has against these people, I worry all the time that, I obviously couldn't do anything. I wasn't a lawyer. I didn't know much about the criminal justice system, but I worry who is going to be defending these people. Everybody deserves a defense. And I worried that, the government had, I read, scanned through some of the evidence. They claimed that they had a strong story. I think Preet Bharara was on TV. The guy who everybody's talking
Hmm.
about. SDNY head at the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I worried that who was going to defend these people and tell their stories. And so looking back on that, it just shows how much it's important that people actually get involved in the system. And it's meaning become a lawyer, go into criminal justice, become a prosecutor that's going to use discretion in a way that's just, right? That's not going to be a
Hmm.
racist way. That's not going to be a way that's going to criminalize poverty, in a way that's going to
Yes.
establish restorative justice institutions in our criminal justice system.
Hmm.
Um, I'm directly not stories of those people, and I'm very, very over the community and pushing back on the narrative that people from uptown, that people from our zip code, that people from our neighborhood, people from the projects, people from the Bronx, people who went to Lehman, people who went to 144, people from Gun Hill, people from any of those neighborhoods are bad people, because they're not. They're working hard
They're
every
not.
single day, just like everybody.
That's
And
right.
so,
That.
yeah, and so that's what I've been doing, just trying to do what I can to get the education, get the connections I can to bring that back to the Bronx, and hopefully build power within our community to do something about it.
So you speak of the Nipsey Hussle philosophy, which is not leaving our environment, but coming back to the environment and building it up, right? And not waiting
Hmm.
for it to be gentrified, but
Hmm.
stay in the community and build up. Because it's interesting to me when neighborhoods get gentrified and all of a sudden it seems so beautiful, but we're here now, and we can make it as beautiful as we want it, right? But because
Hmm.
you speak of the injustice, the criminalization of our neighborhoods, we have to begin to build it out and build up. Okay, so you're coming
Hmm.
back to the environment, right? You're coming back to the Bronx. As what kind of lawyer are you coming back as?
First year Harvard Law School is just because of how close it is to me, how dear it is to my heart. I think housing is at the center of how you can actually build stable foundations for people to engage in
Okay.
what their community is and build their community to what it can be. So right now I'm working in Boston. I work with low-income people to defend them in eviction cases in public housing and Section 8 vouchers.
Hmm.
So I'm still trying to figure out, honestly, I don't know exactly what type of law I want to do this summer. I'll be at the ACLU in their racial justice program in New York, working on different public interest issues
Okay.
around racial justice, around economic justice, housing, education, all the intersections of what racial and economic justice means, and then hopefully I can bring those skills back
Okay.
to the Bronx. Yeah.
Well, I thank you for that. Shout out, shout out to James McSherry. I see him out there, and Lauren. We listen. We are beyond proud of you, as you know. I want to thank you for sharing this outstanding story and impactful story. It's just a reminder that our zip code does not determine our destiny, and we can overcome whatever obstacles that they say that we can't, right? By giving just give us a little bit of exposure, and don't pre-assume that when you see a young man coming from a certain zip code that he can't amount to anything. You living proof of success. I am beyond proud of you. Is there anything you want to leave us with before you go?
No, I think you covered it. I think exposure is very important. I think especially coming if you come from a not privileged background, continue to put yourself, if you
Uh-huh.
find ways to put yourself in opportunities that are expose you to new ideas, new people,
Mhm. Mhm.
and they want your washe. And what that means is remember the son of who you are. And I really take that to
Mm.
mean as wherever you go, you expose yourself and go there, but you should never forget. Remember the son of who you are. Remember your parents, and anything you do is going to be on your family legacy, but more important, it's going to be on your community legacy, and you can build that. So really platform to continue to push the forward how much people can use their education and stories to inspire people, to share narratives, dispel myths. Because we have people on this call from
Yeah.
all over. There's plenty of people from Harvard Law School on this call who, plenty of people from Georgetown I met from different walks of life. People from the Bronx. There may be people in the Bronx 120 on the call. I've seen different people from
Hmm.
from all walks of life who I met from all over joining. So I'm happy that we're having a cross section of people also hearing their story and having this conversation.
Well, thank you. And I can't go without saying shout out to Nigeria. Right?
Shout out to Nigeria, definitely.
Shout out to Nigeria. Shout out to helicopter moms all around the world who inspire their young men, their young daughters, and I just want the best. And shout out to the mothers who really push hard, because that goes a long way, as you can see. So once again, thank you, Ayo. We are beyond proud of you, and continued success. And of course, if you ever need anything, we're always here to support you. Tonight's quote, ladies and gentlemen, and this goes out to Ayo and so many others, is most people dream of success while others wake up and work hard at it. Most people dream of success while others wake up and work hard at it. And I think that just here, ladies and gentlemen, as Ayo has mentioned, remember who you are the son and daughter of, that you represent, your family, wherever you go. Okay, so big up to Nigeria. I see you, Fula.
Big up.
See you.
This has been fun. This has been good.
All right, listen,
All right.
Ayo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
As usual, if you want to join us and share your story, please DM me at your educational story, because everyone has a story to tell. But what's your educational story? Ayo, my brother, continue success at Harvard Law School. Okay?
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care,
you,
brother.
All right.
All right. Peace.